Nearly any distribution line repair job can be hot-sticked, including replacing crossarms, insulators, poles, and pole-top equipment. For most of these jobs, the conductor is untied from its insulator and moved. Then, after the job is done, the conductor is placed back on its insulator and secured with a new tie wire. In this part of the program, we're going to look at one method of using hotline tools to remove and install tie wires. We'll look at the tools that will be used, the function of the tools, and the basic steps for removing and installing tie wires. Keep in mind that the specific tools and procedures that you use can vary, but the principles for removing and installing tie wires will be the same. These are the basic tools that will be used here. The primary tool that will be used for removing and installing tie wires is the universal hot stick. This hot stick has a C-shaped metal part that is permanently attached to it about a foot below the head of the stick. This C-shaped attachment, called a tie stick assist, is used for a number of purposes. It's used to loosen some tie wires, and it's used to grab and hold a tie wire when it's cut from a line or insulator. The assist can also be used to hang the stick when it isn't being used. The head of this hot stick is a universal fitting. A variety of interchangeable tool attachments can be mounted on the universal head. For example, here are 3 common hot stick attachments that may be used to remove and install tie wires. This one is a rotary prong attachment. This part of the attachment is mounted to the universal head of the hot stick. The prong rotates. This type of hot stick attachment is commonly used for removing and installing hot ties. Hot ties are tie wires that have looped ends. A rotary prong fits into the loop to unwrap the tie from the line or wrap the tie onto the line. This hot stick attachment is a rotary blade attachment. The notch in the blade is hooked over a tie wire to grab the tie and manipulate it. The rotary blade is commonly used for removing cold ties. Cold ties are tie wires that have no loops. The ends are straight, and the ends of the tie wires are wound around a conductor to the very end of the tie. Yet another hot stick attachment is this fixed blade attachment. The blade doesn't rotate, but it can be used quite skillfully to remove and install tie wires. There are many other types of hot stick attachments that can be used. Linemen generally have a preference for 1 or 2 particular types. The attachments that we'll see used a little later are the rotary blade and the rotary prong attachments. Another hotline tool that is used when removing tie wires is a wire cutter. The wire cutter is used to cut off tie wires as they're unwrapped from a conductor. A wire tong is used to hold a conductor in place on an insulator while tie wires are removed or installed. The wire tong is secured to a pole by 2 wire tong saddles. Each saddle has a chain binder that secures the assembly to the pole, and a saddle that fits snugly against the pole and holds the wire tong clamp. The clamp fits around the wire tong stick. It can be tightened to hold the wire tong securely, or it can be loosened so that the tong can slide freely when it's being moved. The entire clamp swivels so that the wire tong can be rotated when needed to move conductors. Line hose is used to cover the neutral wire, which in this system is strung below the phase wire. A hand line is used to lower the neutral away from the work area to keep workers clear of the ground. It's also used to raise hotline tools and equipment from the ground up to the lineman on the pole. Pole guard is used to cover the top of a pole to prevent the conductor or tie wires from accidentally coming in contact with the pole. A shotgun stick can be used to place the pole guard on the pole. A shotgun stick, also called a clamp stick, is a hot stick with a hook on one end that can be opened and closed by manipulating a handle at the other end of the stick. A shotgun is commonly used to grip equipment or other hot stick accessories. Now that we've seen the tools that will be used to remove and install tie wires, Let's look at the basic steps for removing this cold tie and replacing it with a hot tie. These steps would be done, for example, if the insulator needed to be replaced. The linemen doing the work are conscientious about safety. One of the first things they do is to cover up the neutral with line hose. This insulates the neutral and helps to limit the chances of the lineman creating a short between the energized phase and the neutral. As an additional precaution, they'll move the neutral out of the work area. They untie the neutral from its spool insulator. Lift it off the insulator and fit the sections of line hose together. And, using a hand line that is controlled by a worker on the ground, lower the neutral out of the work area. Next, they use a shotgun and another hot stick to place the pole guard around the top of the pole. The entire time that the linemen are on the pole, they make sure that they always maintain a minimum clearance between themselves and the energized line. After installing the protective cover gear, one of the linemen begins to remove the tie wire from one side of the insulator using a hot stick with a rotary blade attachment. As the tie wire is being unwound, it's cut from time to keep it from coming in contact with the pole. The C-shaped attachment is used to wrap the tie wire around the hot stick so that the wire doesn't fall when it's cut. A wire cutter is used to cut the tie. It's especially important to remember to wrap the tie around the stick before cutting it when there are other energized lines or equipment below the tie. The linemen continue to unwrap and cut the tie wire until it's completely removed from the conductor on one side of the insulator. Before the tie wire is removed from the other side of the insulator, a wire tongue will be clamped onto the conductor to hold it in place. If the tie wires are in bad shape, or depending on company policy, it may be necessary to secure the conductor with a wire tongue before any of the tie wires are removed. To install the wire tongue, a wire tongue saddle is first chained to the pole. The clamp is lined up under the conductor on the side where the tie wire was removed, and the chain binder is tightened to hold the wire tongue saddle securely on the pole. Next, a second wire tongue saddle is chained to the pole a short distance below the first one. The clamp on this wire tongue saddle is lined up directly below the clamp on the other saddle. Then the wire tongue is attached to the conductor, and the tongue is clamped onto the wire tongue saddles. It should be noted that wire tongue saddle clamps come in different sizes to fit the different diameters of wire tongue sticks. The clamp that is used must match the diameter of the wire tongue in order to properly secure the wire tongue. With the wire tongue holding the conductor on the insulator, the remaining tie wire is unwound and cut in the same manner as before. When the tie wire is completely removed, the only thing holding the conductor on the insulator is the wire tongue. Once the tie wires are completely removed, the conductor can be moved away from the work area so that a job such as replacing the insulator can be completed. Tie wires are typically installed on the new insulator before the conductor is placed on it. Then, after the conductor is set on the insulator, it can be tied in. Here, a hot stick with a rotary prong attachment is being used to wrap a hot tie around the conductor. Notice that a wire tongue is holding the conductor on the insulator while the tie is wrapped around the conductor on the other side of the insulator. Also notice that the tie wire is evenly wrapped. A neat tie job is generally stronger than a sloppy tie job. Once the tie wire is wrapped around the conductor on one side of the insulator, the wire tongue can be removed so that the tie can be wrapped around the conductor on the other side of the insulator. The tie wire is wrapped around the conductor in the opposite direction to that of the tie wire on the other side of the insulator. Here's what the completed tie job looks like. The tie wire is securely anchored to the insulator, and the ends of the tie are neatly wrapped in opposite directions around the conductor on either side of the insulator. Tie wires will need to be removed and installed on nearly any distribution line repair hot stick job. And while specific company procedures may vary, the basic steps that we looked at included covering and moving the neutral, securing the conductor with a wire tong, removing the old tie wire, and installing the new tie wire. All the while, the linemen made sure that they kept a minimum clearance between themselves and the energized line. Now, typically, a tie wire is removed from a distribution line so that the line can be moved away from the work area. There are many ways to move lines using hot sticks. In the next part of this program, we'll look at two methods for moving a single-phase energized conductor.